content was ready, but they were still rehearsing how to speak and how to present, and it was a jam-packed auditorium and people were really nervous. So I had my talk at the end, and by Krishna's mercy, it went out well. The professor said it was good. So some of my classmates were asking me, so it seems like you have really rehearsed well. I mean, probably they don't know how much I try. This is all that I do. So it's very interesting that Srila Prabhupada's process of spiritual elevation also brings in brownie points in the middle realm of activities. So let's begin. It's about
12:40.
okay. Do we have like a digital clock that somewhere that I can keep my?
I'll show you, or in between.
Yeah, you can. Let's go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnapadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswata Deva Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So there's a very beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that I would like to start the discussion with. Ayur harati vai pumsam udhyan astam chayan asau tasyarthe yad kshano nita uttama shloka bhataya. So this verse is found in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and gives a very beautiful comparative statement as far as time is concerned in our life. Ayuhu harati vai pumsam udhyan astam chayan asau. With every rising and setting of the sun, we lose a day in our human form. This is the verse. Ayu means life, and harati basically means to take away. So the sun actually puts a straw into the glass of our life and keeps sipping one after another. Every sunrise and every sunset, we lose one valuable, invaluable day in our life, which we can never get back. But the second two lines give a hope. Give us some hope. Tasyarthe yan kshano nita uttama shloka vartaya. Someone who spends his time speaking about Krishna or hearing about Krishna, he actually gets one day closer to eternal life. So the perspective is seen as anyone who utilizes his day hearing and chanting about Krishna, the doors of Goloka Vrindavan get opened. The doors get more eager to receive the listener and the speaker of the Bhagavatam than even the speaker or the listener themselves desiring to go. So the sun, which actually acts like a negative factor for someone who doesn't discuss Krishna Katha by sapping their life away, is actually benedicting someone who's speaking and hearing Krishna Katha by actually taking them one day closer to their eternal goal. Sripad Amarendra Prabhu, when his birthday was being celebrated, he said, actually there is nothing happy about a birthday. He said, what is not happy about my birthday is the fact that, first of all, I'm away from Krishna. So there is no happiness for me, whether it's birthday or anniversary or anything for that matter. There's nothing happy for me in separation from Krishna. But what is really happy about a birthday is that it takes me 1 year closer in another life back home, back to Radha Shyam Sundar. So for anyone who wants to utilize his time very effectively towards this goal of getting Krishna, they should wholeheartedly hear and chant about Krishna. So that is where this sanga, this initiative in itself makes so much sense. Because we want to come together, be a close-knit audience, and as a community sit together and hear and chant about Krishna. Because we're all developing grey hair and losing hair, and we're getting older. We've seen devotees over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But what should give us hope is that those 10, 20, 30 years have been positively utilized in serving Krishna. So we are marching day by day closer to our goal. But if we miss a day without Krishna Katha, hearing or speaking Krishna Katha, we have actually lost it. And if we actually spend a day hearing or speaking Krishna Katha, we have gained. We have made the best use of this bad bargain that we have. So it's kind of pathetic that we are in this material world. But what is really good about it is that we can make the best use of it. And Krishna has given us so many wonderful golden rays of blessing, so to speak, in the sense that we've got a human form, which is mentally, physically, emotionally, devotionally apt for spiritual practice. If due to our past karma, if we would have been challenged in some way, even after getting a human form, that would have been in some way an obstacle to make advancement. But Krishna has given us eyes, Krishna has given us ears, Krishna has given us such a beautiful, wonderful tongue. This is indeed a blessing. What a wonderful tongue that we all have got. We can either drag ourselves down to the lowest, darkest regions of hell by misusing it, or we can play with Krishna in the groves of Vrindavan by utilizing it. And interestingly, as time passes, we lose the functionality of these senses. The lips start quivering without our control. The hearing, the sense of hearing deteriorates. The sense of sight deteriorates. Our ability to move our hands in dance and kirtan and sing loudly, or even read books and comprehend and fathom and try to put it to practice comes down with time. But now that all of us are pretty young and we have this human form which is very good and well equipped for spiritual elevation, and most importantly, Krishna has given us all the knowledge. If we had all of this facility but we didn't know where to go, how to go, and which path, which route to take, we would still be bewildered. But Krishna has given us very wonderful opportunity in the form of parampara, in the form of the books to read, in the form of devotees to practice with. If we would have been like the only devotee with everything intact, still there's nothing to boost our morale, spiritual morale higher. But with devotees around, even if we feel low, we have people to hold us up. I was mentioning how they beautifully named their daughter as Dhriti. The word Dhriti, Dhrita or Dharanam means to hold. So this is the nature of devotees association. They help to hold our spiritual life together. Not just that, Krishna has also given us faith to put in that devotee association. Imagine we had devotees to counsel and help us. We had the books, we had the human form, we had the comprehending intellect, but we don't have the fertility of the heart. We still can make the best use of it. Now that we have everything in hand and the youth energy in hand, why not just put in the best? In one of the kirtans, Prabhu would yell. I mean, he was doing kirtan and people are pretty slackened and laid back. And you can hear it on SoundCloud. He's like, give it all you got! And then the kirtan just speeds up and sparks up to a new domain of reality. So this is the nature of pure devotees. They want to give the best to Krishna. So the process of bhakti starts off with hearing. So let's make the best use that we have right now by putting all that we have, that Krishna has given us, in gratitude back in His service. Does this make sense? So let us begin. So His Grace Yasoda-dulal Prabhu ordered me to speak on Krishna's Dushta Damana Leela, or Krishna's pastimes where He uplifts the demons by quote unquote killing them. I was thinking of what should be the exact roadmap of this discussion. And who is the demon who's catching my attention? Attracting my mind the maximum that I should spend time with. Then I thought I'm going to give it to that demon who not just attracted my heart, but attracted even the heart and the mind of Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami speaks about so many demons in the Bhagavatam, but most of those descriptions are very brief. He describes more about the qualities of Krishna, describes about the background story, and also speaks about the after effect. But seldom does he describe the demon elaborately. But this demon has caught Srila Shukadeva Goswami's mind and heart so much that Shukadeva Goswami gives maximum attention and maximum number of verses in the Bhagavatam to this demon. He has not described any other demon so profusely as much as he has described this demon. He has spent 44 verses describing this demon in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not in the first canto, in the 10th canto, in Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And if you're still guessing who that demon is, this is none other than Putana. She, by her super excellent nature, oftentimes she's portrayed as a demon, as a demoness. She was hypocrite, deceitful, and the list goes on. But interestingly, there is a special connection that Shukadeva Goswami has with Putana. It's described that Shukadeva Goswami, who entered the womb of Vyasadev's wife, stayed in that womb for over 12 years. Now, for mothers having babies in their womb for 7 months, 8 months, 9 months with pain, to think about more than 12 years. It's a fully grown, mature 12-year-old kid in your womb that you carry day in and day out. And he doesn't just kick, he talks to you, he's asking for food, and he's scribbling, he's rolling, and it's a 12-year-old kid. And he would refuse to come out. Vyasadeva would beg outside the womb of his wife, for my sake, I am a Shakti Avesha incarnation of Krishna. I have come to reveal the scriptures. For my sake, can you come out? And he would say no. Because I'm doing my bhajan here. Inside the womb, I have isolation. It's like being inside a cave in the mountains. Everything is picture perfect. My mother is feeding me prasadam, so I don't have to go for madhukari. I don't have to go around begging like a sadhu. And I am naked. It doesn't matter, no one to watch except Paramatma, who always sees me naked because he doesn't see my body anyway. So I'm happy here. I don't see a need to come out. There is no desire that I have to fulfill for which I have to come out. Vyasadeva said, have pity on your wife, your mother and my wife. The child said, but it's very anukul, very favorable for my bhajan. If I come out, I really fear being caught by the ropes of material nature and falling into Maya. He said, you won't. I am your father. I promise you. Shukadeva Goswami from within said, I don't trust you because you are a grihastha. You got married and you have a wife and you're giving birth to me, so there is some effect of material nature on you for sure. So how can you promise me that I will be untouched? Well, I don't trust you. Yasoda said, so what does it take for me to convince you? Shukadeva Goswami said, I want Krishna to come and tell you. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Daivihesha gunamai mamamaya duratyaya mame vaje prapadhyante maya me tantarantite. Krishna is making this point in chapter 7, text 14 of Gita, that Maya belongs to me alone. And therefore anyone who takes shelter of me alone, mam eva ye prapadhyante, mayam etam tarantite. Only that person can swim over this material nature. So Shukadeva Goswami said, there is no mention of you, O Father. There's only mention of Krishna in the Gita. So please tell Krishna to come and tell me this. So Vyasadeva said, okay, let me beseech Krishna. Krishna came outside the womb of Vyasadeva's wife and said, I promise you, O Shukadeva, please come out, nothing will happen to you. He said, okay, now that you tell me, I have faith in you, I'll come. He came outside the womb and then told his father, now that I have come out, I fulfilled your desire, I am really afraid of getting entangled in family life. I will be inside in the groves in the forest. Whenever you need me, you can call me, I'll come out, but I'm going to be there meditating on the Supreme Lord. And interestingly, Shukadeva Goswami is portrayed in the Puranas as someone who believed in the impersonal feature of the Lord, as someone who would meditate on the formless feature of Krishna, which is a correct understanding but not a complete understanding. Just like the Bhagavatam describes, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattva yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. That the impersonal feature is just the first stage of God realization. So he told his father, let me meditate on the formless feature of the Supreme Lord inside. He's present everywhere, and I can meditate and completely absorb myself in contemplative meditation. Please do not disturb me. And he sat inside. And Yasoda was scratching his head thinking, I am compiling the scriptures to prove the form feature, the personal feature of the Lord, and what would the society say when my son himself is practicing impersonal Brahman meditation? So Vyasadeva thought of breaking the meditation of Shukadeva Goswami. How would he do it? He prepared two very wonderful learned disciples. And to the first disciple, he gave him a verse which described the external beauty, the external form of Sri Krishna. It profusely described how delicate Krishna's form is, how beautiful his hands and legs and eyes are, how locks of soft black curly hair cascading up to his shoulder, how when he dances in a threefold bending form it mesmerizes the hearts of everyone, how Krishna glances, how Krishna walks, how Krishna talks, how he plays his flute, keeping his left cheek to his left hand, pressing the flute on his lips and looking around with dancing eyebrows when he sees the wives of the demigods almost jumping off their chariot to meet Krishna. And then he looks to the side and all the deer are standing as painted pictures, and he looks to the left where he sees all the birds have their beak open, stunned looking at Krishna. Then he looks behind where he sees the mother cow is giving milk without being milked, while the calf is stunned and all the milk is falling off from the mouth. Why? Because the ears of the calf are drinking the nectar of Krishna's flute sound. So he's drinking more from the ear and less from the mouth. His ears are full and his hearts are overfull. And then Krishna finally looks down and Mother Earth is trembling. It's trembling like an earthquake, but she's actually trembling and horripilating in ecstasy, hearing and seeing Krishna play the flute. And Krishna, with dancing eyebrows, looks at his friends and says, what do you have to say for this? So this was verse number 1, describing Krishna's externally beautiful form. And there was verse number 2, describing the beauty of Krishna's heart. The first verse and the second verse focused on the beauty of Krishna, but the first about the external beauty, and the second verse about the internal beauty, Krishna's nature, Krishna's soft-hearted behavior, his persona. After preparing both these disciples, he instructed them to go into the forest and sing these verses aloud. He said, if you go and try to instruct Shukadeva Goswami on these verses, he would not listen to you. But just sing it as loud as you can. I promise that will create tides and ripples in his meditation. And they did as their spiritual master instructed them. The first verse is from Canto 10, chapter 21, text 5. It is a very famous verse. Barhapidam natavaravapuhu karnayo karnikaram bhipratvasa kanakakapisham vaijayantim chamalam Randranenur adhara sudhaya apuraya gopa vrindaye vrindaranyam swapadaramanam pravishad gita kirtihi. 10:21:5 Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is actually chanted by the Brajagopis. They describe Krishna's form. Barha Pidam. Krishna has a crown in Vrindavan, but this crown is not bedecked with jewels and rubies and emeralds and pearls and diamonds. It's bedecked with peacock feathers. It's not one peacock feather which is dancing in the air. It's a bunch that Krishna's put into his hair. And they're all dancing in different directions. That, look, he who's on top of the whole creation, we are on top of his head. We are dancing in ecstasy. And the peacock feather is actually representing the surrender of the peacocks. When Krishna would dance in Vrindavan, the peacocks would pick the feathers that they have in their body, and with so much pain, they would offer it at the lotus feet of Krishna, and they would say, Krishna, all that we have to offer you are these feathers that you have naturally given us. You make this point in the Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati, but we don't have fruits, we don't have flowers, we are so hard-hearted that we don't even have water in the form of tears, Krishna, we just have leaves like peacock feathers. So that's all that we can pick and give you. Please take it as our insignificant offering. And Krishna keeps it on top of his head to proclaim to the whole world the spirit of surrender and dedicated devotion. Doesn't matter what you give Krishna, what matters is the intention behind that offering. Last night we were discussing at the Tobacco Temple on the life of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And we mentioned how Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he would make super excellent preparations of foodstuffs, prasadam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not just relishing his cooking skills and ability, he was actually tasting and smelling the scent and the fragrance of his devotional mood. That is what Krishna tastes. So Krishna keeps a crown of peacock feathers on his head, and Natavara Vapahu. He's always in a mood to dance. He pulls his dhoti up so that they don't, act as an obstacle in his dancing steps. He pulls them up, sometimes ties them to his waist, and he's always ready to dance. So much so that when Krishna starts dancing, even Lord Shiva from Kailas, he stops out of respect. Now it's time for me to learn something new. The Gandharvas are singing and the Apsaras don't dance at that time. It's practice time. Krishna's dancing to teach us newer steps. And Karana Yoho Karanikaram. Krishna keeps beautiful blue-colored and yellow-colored Karanikara flowers, which are found in Vrindavan. And sometimes he would have two flowers, like one here and one here. And sometimes it's just one, which out of his restless nature, he keeps moving from one ear to another. So it seems as if he's having two. And Bhiprat Vasaha Kanaka Kapisham. He has a yellow dazzling dhoti, like lightning, and he has a golden complexion waistcloth to keep that dhoti together. Because they don't have belts. So just keep a waistcloth. And Vaijayantim Chamalam. And he's having a Vaijayanti mala which goes up to his knees. It's made out of 5 forest flowers, and it is a garland of victory. But in this context, it's not the fact that Krishna is victorious over Hiranyaksha as Varahadev, over Hiranyakashipu as Narasimhadev, over Ravana as Ramachandra. This is not the victory that we're talking about. In Vrindavan, he is victorious over the hearts of all the devotees, and therefore he's wearing this victory garland. And Randhan Venuhu Adara Sudhaya Apurayan Gopa Vrindaihi. Shukdev Goswami doesn't say that Krishna plays the flute. He says Krishna actually just places the flute on his lips, and the flute starts playing on its own out of excitement. Krishna just places the flute on his lips, and the flute goes. And Krishna looks at the flute and he says, I haven't even started playing the flute. He's just ecstatic, being kissed by the beautiful lips of Sri Krishna. So Shukadev Goswami says Krishna is busy filling nectar into the holes of the flute. And Krishna's Gopa Vrindaihi, Krishna's friends, are ahead of him, they're together, and they're behind. Those behind, they run ahead to see his face. Those ahead, they look behind to see his face. And those on the sides, they're looking onto Krishna's face from both sides to catch every gesture, to see every facial expression. Is Krishna smiling? Is Krishna, what is he doing? Like when you love someone so deeply, Doesn't matter what's happening around, you still keep looking at them as to how they respond to that situation. Right? There was one devotee who was telling me recently that he loved Amarendra Prabhu so much. He was telling me that during the kirtan, he would just look at his fingers. Doesn't matter how packed the temple hall would be, we would just stand behind the pillar and just look at his fingers and how they would dance on the harmonium. And the fingertips would be pink, and we would look at his face, how he's responding to different change of melodies. So that's the nature of love. You want to catch every minute detail of your beloved. So they would look at Krishna to catch every detail, and Mother Earth would bless herself that after such a long time, now Sri Krishna is not wearing slippers. In other incarnations as Mahavishnu and in other incarnations he comes with his golden footwear. And he walks on Mother Earth, which is still a blessing, but Mother Earth wants the direct touch of Sri Krishna. So now as a baby with tender, soft, pink, lotus-like, leaf-like, bud-like toes and sole of his feet, where he's taking all those baby steps. It's like on the back of his divine mother, Mother Earth, and she's having ecstasy, thinking that I am being touched by Sri Krishna. And the friends are singing about Krishna, and Krishna's frolicking, being in the center. So this was the verse that they sang. And here is Shukadeva Goswami trying to sit and meditate on that Supreme Lord who has no form, no names, and no pastimes. And he hears this verse and he's like, what? So it kind of disturbed his meditation in a positive way. It distracted him from his meditation. But he was very determined. He said, this is a distraction. There are so many people who are externally so beautiful, who can play the flute, who walk with their friends. I will surrender to this personality only when I know he's externally and internally beautiful. So the first verse just convinced him of Krishna's external beauty, which he was no doubt captivated. He was magnetized. But he promised himself, I would give myself to Krishna only when he's internally and externally beautiful. And to prove, or to take Shukadeva Goswami across the bridge of his doubt, the second verse acted as a catalyst. The second verse that was taught, another disciple by Yasoda-dulal, described the inner heart of Sri Krishna. How merciful he is, that when someone as atrocious as Putana came to kill him, it was Sri Krishna who didn't punish her, who didn't just give her liberation, but actually saw good in her. Saw the positive aspect in her, that she's coming to Vrindavan, she's dressing herself like a gopi, she's coming to my house, she picks me up and makes all those baby sounds. Bhagavatam actually describes that when Putana walked into Krishna's house and she picked Krishna up, she was making all those fake sounds. So much so that it's described, Mother Yasoda looked at Mother Rohini and said, I think she is the actual mother. Because even I don't have so much love for Krishna. So she was really good. And Putana's pastime actually exemplifies the slogan, fake it till you make it. It's interesting, she faked and she made it. So Krishna saw all this aspect. Some devotees told me when I said this, they said, Prabhu, this is the best class we have heard. Now it gives so much hope and meaning to my life. But the positive way of looking at it is that if someone who makes so much endeavor to come to Vrindavan, to come to Krishna's house, to dress herself in Vaishnava clothes, follow the footsteps of Krishna's mother, take Krishna in her arms and desire to give Krishna her body, why won't such a person get liberated? Whatever may be the intention, Krishna is like fire. He is like electricity. Whoever, however, whenever, whichever touches electricity or fire, the effect of fire or electricity is, definite. So Krishna is transcendently powerful. He's like the sun. The sun evaporates pure water and impure water equally. If there's some urine or some impure water, the sun evaporates all that water purifies the place. No one knows where the urine is. And it's not that that gets stuck onto the face of the sun. The sun remains as pure as ever. The place becomes purified and everything is pure. It's gone. So similarly, if the sun of this material universe has this quality, what to speak of Krishna? So he sees the positive, the water and the urine of our heart and purifies it equally. It doesn't mean that he gets impure. He remains as pure as ever and our heart becomes purified in whatever mood one approaches. Narad Muni makes this point that even if one approaches Krishna with envy, with hatred, with anger, with lust in his heart, he will make advancement. But the condition is that feeling must be so intense that it keeps you Krishna conscious. You must envy Krishna so much that you can't stop thinking of him. But if we are so envious that we stop thinking about him, better not think about him now. I don't like him. Then it's an offense. Because what's happening is that you're negatively disposed, but you're not so negatively disposed to cross the bridge. So this is the difference between Maharaj Vena and Shishupal. Both were envious, but Shishupal was so envious that he could never forget Krishna. And Maharaj Vena was so envious that he never thought of Krishna. So therefore, for us, it is favorable to be favorably disposed. Because if we go the negative route of envy, what is the guarantee that we can make the distance because of our intensity? But with the favorable route, even if we are not 100% Krishna conscious, you still get benefits, positive benefits for your surrender. So this verse describing Krishna's mercy on Putana, how he made Putana his eternal mother in the spiritual world, and neglected and completely eclipsed all her shortcomings. This verse is also found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was sung by the second disciple, and we'll chant it together. Please kindly repeat. Aho Bakiyam,
Aho Bakiyam,
Stanakalakutam,
Stanakalakutam,
Jigamsaya,
Jigamsaya,
Apayaya Sadhvi,
Apayaya Sadhvi,
Lebhe gatim
Dhatrimuchitam tatonyam,
Dhatrimuchitam tatonyam
Kamva dayalam,
Kamva dayalam
Sharanam Vrajema.
Sharanam Vrajema.
Who else, apart from Krishna, is so merciful that he is ready to give eternal life to someone who's coming to murder him? My spiritual master in one class, he was saying, in this world, if someone comes to give us nectar, we poison them. And in Krishna's realm, someone who comes to give poison, Krishna gives them nectar. So when this disciple sang this verse loudly, and when Shukadeva Goswami heard this in succession to the previous verse which described Krishna's bodily beauty, his heart was completely melted, completely hypnotized, completely charmed by Krishna's external and internal beauty. And he came running to Yasoda. And he said, who is this Krishna? How is he so beautiful? How is he so merciful? And please tell me, who is this person who came to murder him, to whom Krishna gave eternal life? I want to hear about this demon. And Vyasadeva spoke about Putana's pastime first. And then ended up speaking the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. That is when Shukadeva Goswami, he repeated the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and during the repetition, the pastime of Putana, Canto 10, Chapter 6 of Srimad Bhagavatam is 44 verses long. And he spends elaborate one-pointed attention to this demon out of gratitude that if she had not come to Vrindavan to meet Krishna, I wouldn't have been alive. So when Shukadeva Goswami was interviewed and asked, how did you become Krishna conscious? How I came to Krishna conscious? Well, all glories to Putana Mataji. She was my counselor. She was my Patpradashak Guru. If not for her, I wouldn't be here. In all the bhakti vrikshas, she gave milk prasadam to everyone. That was the standard prasadam, and she preached so extensively about the mercy of Krishna that I became a devotee. So the point is, out of gratitude to Putana for her service to Krishna and for indirect service and transformation of his heart, he spent so much time. So Putana, the word Putana is very beautiful. The word Puta means purity. Comes very close to English. P-U-T, Puta means purity. And Na, again close to English, no. So Puta Na means no purity. She who's not pure, impure. Another meaning of Puta or Putan means babies, young infant babies. And Na means Nayati, to take away. She who was habituated to taking away babies and murdering them is Putana. So there is a positive connotation and a negative connotation for every Sanskrit name. So sometimes people ask this question, how could someone name their son as Duryodhan? Like this. Which father on earth would name Dushasan, Duryodhan? You know? I mean, why would somebody do that? In one congregation meeting, one devotee asked another devotee, Prabhu, what do you think? That was just a funny incident. He said, Prabhu, what do you think? Why did his father name him as Duryodhan and Dushasan? And the devotee was like, maybe he's blind, that's why. I'm like, but what has blind to do with the naming? It's like, I don't know, maybe the scriptures just scripted him as blind and therefore he named. But, it was just a joke in the spur of a moment. But the actual meaning of Duryodhan or Dushasan is a very positive word. Yodhana or Yuddha means to fight. And Dur means negativity. He who is adept, who's very skilled in fighting negativity, the opposition, is Duryodhan. Shasana means to discipline, and Dur means the wicked. He who's skilled in disciplining or bringing in, enforcing discipline onto those who are wicked, who are not disciplined, is Dushasana. But there are also negative connotations. So Putana Devi is the first demon we find in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as Krishna's growing up in his pastimes. And it's kind of funny that when Putana came, Krishna shut his eyes. And our scriptures and our acharyas give more than 15 reasons why Krishna shut his eyes on seeing Putana. More than 15 reasons. I just want to give you a few reasons here. Not all 15, but a few very beautiful ones. First reason, the acharyas describe, Krishna was looking at Putana and then he said, oh my God. And he closed his eyes thinking, in my previous incarnation when I came as Sri Ram, the first demon I killed was Tataka, who was a Mataji. And at that time I promised, never again will I kill Matajis. And look at the will of providence. I changed my incarnation, but my destiny remains the same. Again, it's another Mataji. Oh no. Another reason. When Krishna lived with Putana, he shut his eyes, immediately thinking of Lord Shiva. And he was in his meditation speaking to Lord Shiva. He said, wait a minute. I came in this world to drink milk, but what's coming up is poison. And Lord Shiva tells him from there, you remember what you did to me? They went to churn the milk ocean, and what came out was poison, and you remembered me. All the very best, my lord. So Krishna closes his eyes and he tells Lord Shiva, please come and take your share. I'm waiting for the milk at the end. You come and take your share. And it's interesting why Lord Shiva is picked for drinking poison, even at the milk ocean churning pastime. In Sanskrit, the word poison is called by the word Visha, right? And what comes up from Lord Shiva's tongue constantly is Ram Nam, the name of Sri Ram. And when you put Visha, poison, and the word Ram, the Sanskrit word opens up as Vishram, which means to put things at peace, to rest. So when the Supreme Lord wanted to create a peaceful situation, put everything at rest, he had Visha, the poison coming up, so he had to search for someone who's constantly chanting Ram Nam, so that the Vish will be counteracted by the Ram and there will be Vishnu, in a poetic way. Is this clear? This also is a teaching for all of us, that this material world will always keep throwing in the javelins of Vish, poison. And only someone who's chanting the name of Ram continuously can counteract the Vish with the Ram and be Vishram in heart. Peaceful. If that Ram is not there, then the Vish will touch their heart and they will be disturbed. But if that Vish is coming, poison is coming in the form of criticism, in the form of envy, in the form of distress, disappointment, lamentation, hankering, whatever it may be. And if it is counteracted by constant chanting of the holy name Ram Nam, then Visha and Ram, Vishram, and the heart is still peaceful. So in this way, Krishna is closing his eyes for so many different reasons. Another Acharya comments that when Krishna went, he looked at Putana, all the jivas in his belly. Because you remember, Krishna shows the universe in his mouth. What's in the mouth is in the belly. Right? Especially a rasgulla in the mouth is in the belly. And it disappears. And then another one, then disappears. This prakat and aprakat leela going on, manifest and unmanifest pastimes. So what is in the mouth is in the belly. So Krishna shows the universe in the mouth, which means it's in his belly. And as Krishna was about to drink the poison of Putana, the jivas in the belly started complaining to Krishna, saying, you can do whatever you want, the poison won't touch you, but we fear when the poison comes down your throat and touches all of us, we would die. So Krishna's closing his eyes and rubbing his belly to pacify them. Don't worry. Don't worry. Nothing's going to happen to you. I am there. I'm not going to take the poison. I'm just going to take the milk. Okay? Don't worry. So in this mood of pacification, to pacify all the jivas, Krishna's closing his eyes. The Acharyas describe. So in this way, there are so many different meanings of why Krishna closed his eyes. Another beautiful interpretation is that Krishna's eyes are the sun and the moon. And for anyone to get uplifted to heavenly kingdom, they must have the recommendation letter, the IDC certificate and the recommendation letter of the local temple, the authority. That is either Surya Dev or Chandra Dev, the sun god or the moon god. So for anyone who has to go to the heavenly kingdom, they must have recommendation of either Surya Dev or Chandra Dev. So those are the eyes of Krishna. So looking at Putana's cruelty, both shut, saying, we're not going to give her recommendation. You want to uplift her, you uplift by your causeless mercy, but it's not going to be by our recommendation. My Lord, we quit. We're not going to do this. So Krishna's like trying to open his eyes, but they're shut. It revolves. So that's another reason. So there's so many beautiful reasons given like this, as far as Putana's pastime is concerned. Putana gave up her life serving Krishna. And she's also having a very beautiful connection with Srimati Radharani, not just with Krishna. Putana is very dear to Krishna's heart, no doubt. But she's also very dear to Radharani's heart. And not just once, multiple times. How and why? We begin our narration. In the Shastras it is described that the mountainous ranges called as the Himalayas, they gave their daughter, Mother Parvati, to Lord Shiva. So the Himalayas became the father-in-law for Lord Shiva. But the Himalayan mountain ranges personification had a rival, an enemy. And that was the Vindhya Parvat, the Vindhya mountain ranges. So the personification of the Vindhya mountains now started getting envious of the personification of Himalaya, the personality. Started thinking, he has such a wonderful son-in-law in the form of Lord Shiva. So my son-in-law should be stronger than Lord Shiva. Because then I can settle scores with him. It's like, you have Lord Shiva, I have a better son-in-law. What do you have to say for that? And without thinking much, Vindhya Parvat started performing tapasya to please Lord Brahma. And Brahma is so innocent, very soft-hearted. So he appeared and offered his mercy in the form of sacred sanctified water from his kamandala and said, oh Vindhya Parvat, what do you need? You have pleased me immensely. The tears coming through all his 8 eyes. Yes, 4 heads. So he's weeping profusely. And then what do you need? Vindhya Parvat said, please bless me with a son-in-law who can defeat Lord Shiva in battle. And Brahma, without a second thought, said, yes, I promise you, my son, I promise you, may you be happy. And Vindhya Parvat was happy. He went home, and Brahma was wiping his tears and thinking, wait a minute, what? Defeat Lord Shiva? Well, who's going to do that? No one can do that. He's Mahadev. So what did I do? I can't take back my promise. Now I have to go around looking for some backdoor process to get this thing done. He thought to himself, I need some thinking time to get this thing done. Because he's a quad-core processor. You know, he has 4 brains. He's a quad-core processor, so, you know. So he's thinking, he's processing. And at that time, on the other end of the story, there's something fascinating that's happening. Here is Kamsa in Mathura, who is holding a meeting as to what has to be done, and he suddenly gets a news in his ear that, oh, the 8th child that we have been waiting for has just appeared. Let's go murder that child. And he goes and gets the child and throws the child in the air, and realizing it's a baby girl, the girl becomes 10-handed or 8-handed Durga in the air. She looks at Kamsa. She says, you fool. You're trying to kill me, but your death is being nourished somewhere else. Kamsa said, oh goddess, I have been worshipping you for generations. Can you give me some hint? Can you help me in reciprocation to my service? She said, I can give you only one hint. Only one hint. The hint is, if you want to get powerful, I don't know if you can defeat your enemy, but if you want to get powerful, you got to marry the daughter of Vindhya. Because if you somehow can marry the daughter of Vindhya, then you can become as powerful, so powerful as to even defeat Lord Shiva in battle. Because this is what has happened, and Brahma has just given a benediction, and God knows how that's going to unfold. So this is a solution for you. Just go and marry the daughter of Vindhya, become his son-in-law, and then reap the benefit of Brahma's blessing, and now you can defeat Lord Shiva. So you say, sounds like a good plan. I just take a pause here to get back to what the girl in the air represents. You've heard the baby girl went in the air, and then she was a baby girl till then, but as soon as she touched the air, she got her original form. Right? One very wonderful commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that the air has a synonym in Sanskrit called as Vishnu Pada. Vishnu Pada, which means the lotus feet of Vishnu, the direct meaning. But Vishnu Pada can also be translated as the thin air, ether, atmosphere. So the girl, as soon as she approached Vishnu Pada, she received her original form. So one meaning is, as soon as she approached the thin air, she received her original form. But the lesson is, as soon as she approached Vishnu Pada, which means the lotus feet of Vishnu, she received her original form. So as sadhakas, if we also approach Vishnu Pada, we'll get our original form. Is that clear? Just a play of the word. Where thin air is called Vishnu Pada, but Vishnu Pada also means the lotus feet of Vishnu. So this is what the girl in the air getting her original form represents. Srimad Bhagavatam has meanings and teachings and lessons for us at every step. It's a story which unfolds with meaning. So anyway, now Kamsa is now trying to search for this daughter of Vindhya Parvat. He calls in a Arjun general body meeting and gets all his demon friends on board. And what do you think, what do you think, what do you think? And everyone takes a step back and said, we can do this. What was Kamsa asking them to do? Kamsa told them, I don't know where Vindhya Parvat is. I don't know who my death is. But all that I know is I want a girl who's the daughter of Vindhya, and I want to kill my death who's a boy. So the instruction to all the demons is, every boy must be killed and every girl must be got killed. I just marry all the girls. One of them would appear to be Vindhya's daughter, and lo and behold, I'll become stronger than Shiva. kind of sounds crazy, but that's how Kamsa Maharaj was. In a few verses before, he could have this top-notch philosophy that he could speak. That you're not the body, you're the soul, you're eternal, you're indestructible. And the next second, he would think of murdering someone. So what is the lesson for us? The lesson is, just knowing the philosophy doesn't make us a devotee. Because even Kamsa knew the philosophy. He didn't just know the philosophy, he was a very good speaker. If you see the verses that he's chanting and the way he articulates the words in a very poetic sense, he's really skilled. So one could know the philosophy really well and one could even be an excellent speaker. But if one is not resonating his consciousness with that philosophy and living it in practical life, then he is not a devotee. So what makes us a devotee is being devoted to that philosophy and not simply knowing it or speaking about it. On the other hand, speaking about Krishna is also bhakti, if you continuously do it. So Kamsa gave this instruction and everybody took a back step. Putana came ahead. She said, I can do this for you. Because Putana, the word Putana, also refers to that class of Rakshasas who are trained and who have streamlined, narrowed down focus on murdering babies. That was their forte. So those who are not demigods are called Asura. Demigods are called Sura, and is a negation. So those who are not demigods are Asura. Among them, those who are cannibals, they are called Rakshasas. And among the Rakshasas, those who just focus on babies, that class is called Putana. And she was the head of the department there. So she stepped in and she said, I'll do this for you. So Putana started flying in the air. So it's not the Wright brothers who gave us the... it was Putana. So she, I'm very grateful to Putana. I could come to New Jersey by Putana's voice. If not for Putana, we wouldn't be here. So she's giving the art of flying in the air. So she was searching for Krishna as the boy and the daughter of Vindhya as the girl. So as she was flying in the air, she didn't have to go searching for all the girls because she actually saw Vindhya Parvat sitting with two daughters in his lap. So it made it very easy for her. Vindhya Parvat gave birth to two children, two babies, and who they were is what Brahma's policy is all about. Brahma, at the time when we were discussing about Kamsa, Brahma started scratching his head thinking, now how I'm going to make this work. He went to Radharani. And Brahma told Radharani, I'm caught up in a mess. I gave a benediction which I don't think will be truth. It's not going to be fruitful unless the only person who can fulfill that is your grace, yourself. Oh Radharani, if you agree to appear through the womb of Vindhya Parvat's wife, then Krishna can be your lover, and then Krishna as your beloved can defeat Lord Shiva in battle and no one else. Because the demigods are called Ishvara, and then Lord Shiva is called Maheshwara, and Lord Vishnu is called Parameshwara, and Shri Krishna alone is called Sarveshwara. So it must be Krishna alone who can appear to defeat Lord Shiva, which means the female counterpart, the feminine potency must be Radharani. Is there light disturbing you?
No.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you.
So Brahma requested Radharani, can you enter the womb of Vindhya Parvat's wife? And she was very merciful. She agreed. So Radharani and Chandravali appeared through the womb of Vindhya Parvat's wife, and those two beautiful personalities were like babies sitting on the lap of Vindhya Parvat. So when Putana was flying above, she saw, oh, this is Vindhya, and these might be definitely his babies. So she, her aircraft kind of landed down, and then she picked up both these babies and started flying up in the air. Why Vindhya Parvat was sitting with his babies on his lap? Because he was performing a yajna for their future. He had all the pandits and the brahmanas sitting there performing fire sacrifice for their future. And suddenly in the middle of the sacrifice, here is a demoness who comes and takes these babies out. Vindhya Parvat started screaming to the brahmanas and said, can you chant some mantra mantra to get her back. What is this? They said, we don't know what to do. Let's chant Asura Marana mantra, by which the demons can be killed. But Putana was so powerful, it was impossible to kill her. What was happening by the power of the mantras is that she was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So by the power of the mantra, she became so weak that she couldn't carry both babies as she's flying. So she dropped a baby. She dropped Chandravali, who performed her pastimes as Rukmini outside of Vrindavan. We know Radharani and Chandravali have prominent roles in Vrindavan, and when Krishna leaves Vrindavan to go to Dwarka, Radharani leaves as Satyabhama and Chandravali leaves as Rukmini. Lalita Sakhi leaves as Chambavati. So all Krishna's top 8 prominent principal queens are actually Krishna's pleasure potencies in Vrindavan. So she performs her pastimes in Maharaj Bhishmaka, in the land of very beautiful. She's also called Vaidharvi. Then the only baby in her hand was Radharani. And she's trying to keep up her strength and hold Radharani and fly, and the strength started reducing and she dropped Radharani. And Radharani fell in the Yamuna on a golden lotus. That's where Rishabhanu Maharaj finds Radharani on that golden lotus. Rishabhanu Maharaj was chanting japa, and he finds this beautiful golden baby girl on the middle of the wall of the golden 100-petaled golden lotus flower. So where did she come there from? This is the story. So Rishabhanu Maharaj gets Radharani again with the connection of Putana. This just doesn't happen once. It happens one more time in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there used to be a wonderful Vaishnava by the name Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a God-intoxicated man. He was so intoxicated, he was so elevated, so intoxicated in God consciousness that he was oblivious to what's happening around. So externally, it looked as if he was very opulent. He would sit on a very raised, beautiful, wonderful, silken platform, and he had long hair, and he would keep chewing betel nut, fragrant betel nut, and he would keep looking at his face in the mirror with people fanning him on both sides, and he would have golden plates and everything picture perfect, very opulent, upmarket. And it was Mukunda who promised Gadadhar Pandit that I'm going to take you to a high-class Vaishnava for sadhu sanga. And here was Gadadhar Pandit wearing a kopin and a dhoti, very detached. And when he thought of a pure Vaishnava, he was thinking, maybe somewhere in the cave, somewhere underwater, someone very detached. And he comes here, lo and behold, and he sees this personality sitting on top of this raised platform, people singing songs for his pleasure, and he's chewing fragrant betel nut and looking time and again into the mirror on the exquisite beauty of his facial features. What kind of devotee is this? And he's mentally thinking, he didn't verbalize it. So, mouth was shut, but his mind was working. And Mukunda kind of looked at him, and he understood what he would be thinking. In the Shastras it is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vijnai Na Bhujai, that the activities of a pure Vaishnava cannot be understood by a mere mortal. Drishtei Svabhava Janitai Vapusascha Doshaha. The Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami Pad describes, sometimes because of our neophyte vision and thought process, we may see defects in a Vaishnava, but they are not defects. They are like mud bubbles on the Ganges. Ganga still remains ever fresh and pure. So Mukunda, he realized this and immediately started singing, Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam Jigam Sayapayatapyasadhi Lebhe Gatim Dhatri Muchitam Tatonyam Kamvadayalum Sharanam Brajema. The same verse glorifying Krishna's mercy in Gautama. And when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this, and he was seated on this elevated platform without even calculating the distance of his fall, he just jumped off, rolling on the ground and kind of tearing his opulent clothing to find Krishna in his heart. And he was bleeding and he was saying, Krishna, 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 and crying with tears and horripilation, hair standing on end and teeth chattering and voice choking up. His complexion was turning pale. And when Gadadhar Pandit saw the ecstatic eruption of ecstasy on hearing Krishna's pastime, he thought to himself how wrong he was in his perception. At the end of that singing, when Pundarik Vidyanidhi gained his external consciousness, Gadadhar Pandit went and prostrated himself and said, I have greatly offended you in my mind, and therefore I will be very grateful if you can accept me as your disciple. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very merciful and he accepted Gadadhar Pandit as his disciple. The story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat continues, but the point to note, according to Gaur Ganadesh Deepika of Kavi Karanapur, the original identity of Gadadhar Pandit is Srimati Radharani, and the original identity of Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So in Krishna Leela, Vrishabhanu Maharaj finds Radharani because of Putana, and in Gaur Leela, Radharani finds Vrishabhanu Maharaj because of Krishna's mercy on Putana. And we find Srimad Bhagavatam and the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami, because of Putana. And interestingly, this verse is spoken by Uddhava in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 23. That's where this verse that we sang comes from, 3223, Bhagavatam, spoken by Uddhava to Vidura. And that assembly is also very exalted. The listener is Vidura, who's an incarnation of Yamaraj. Yamaraj gets cursed by a sage called Mandavya Muni. Mandavya Muni was a great exalted sage, but he was got to hell. And he was made to sit on the tip of a big, long, elongated spear. And he was asked to sit there and, literally feel the punishment. So Mandavya Muni was sitting 6 inches above the spear, elevated, completely levitating in the air. So Yamaraj looked at him and said, this is not even a punishment. Mandavya Muni said, you told me to sit above the spear, that's exactly what I'm doing. He said, no, not like this. This is not how you sit. He said, this is how I sit. Oh, Yamaraj, you first of all got to tell me, why did you get me here? Yamaraj said, well, you've been a good devotee, no doubt, but when you were about 9 years old, less than 14 years old, you took a sharp blade of grass and you hurt the ants. You were pricking them on the back of their body till the time they feel uncomfortable, and then you would do that to another ant. So for that sin, you have to be punished here. Mandavya Muni said, this doesn't even make sense. You're called Dharmaraj, don't you know Dharma? That the sins that we commit before 14 and after 18 are not counted as sins. So Yamaraj said, but I got to do what I got to do. Mandavya Muni said, now I'll do what I'm supposed to do. He cursed Yamaraj, that you don't know Shastra and you're trying to be Yamaraj. I curse you to be born as a son of a maidservant. And that's how Yamaraj gets cursed, and he's born as a son of maidservant in the form of Vidura. So he's listening to this verse. Yamaraj is listening to the verse. And who is speaking? Uddhava. Vrishninam pravaro mantri Krishnasya daita sakha Sakshad Brihaspati Shishyo Uddhavo Buddhi Sattama. Canto 10, chapter 46, text 1, Srimad Bhagavatam, describes the identity of Uddhava. Who is this Uddhava? Vrishninam pravaro mantri. All the ministers in Krishna's assembly, when they would get confused, they would go to Uddhava. He was the minister for the ministers of Krishna. And Krishnasya Daita Sakha. Krishna genuinely considered Uddhava to be his dear friend. Now for me to say that I want to meet the president, well, there's nothing special about it. But if I said the president wants to meet me, well, that's something about it. So for Uddhava to say, I consider Krishna to be my friend, okay, so. But Krishna considers Uddhava to be his friend. Now that's a big thing that Shukadeva Goswami is saying. And then he says, Sakshat Brihaspati Shishyo. He says Uddhava was the direct disciple of Brihaspati. So how is that important? The interesting thing is Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, he never enrolled any human disciples. Never. In his track record, he always had demigods. You got to be a demigod or a demigoddess to get admission, enrolled into a school. He was the only human disciple. And interestingly, even for the demigods, the way Brihaspati would teach, he would teach one demigod and tell that demigod, you teach another 20. You instruct another 30. You instruct another 40. But for Uddhava, Sakshat Brihaspati Shishyo. Brihaspati didn't just enroll him in his classroom, but he was personally tutored and taught by Brihaspati. And Uddhava Buddhi Sattama. Therefore, he was very intelligent and his heart palpitated for Krishna in devotion. That Uddhava was so qualified and that Vidura was so qualified in their conversations in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam got this verse on the glory of Putana. That Krishna neglected all her shortcomings and accepted her as his mother. So it's kind of interesting just to put the trajectory to our talk till now. We spoke about Lord Sri Shukadev Goswami's connection with Putana. We spoke about Radharani's connection with Putana in Krishna Leela. We spoke about Radharani's connection with Putana in Gaur Leela. And we put to perspective this Putana in conversation to Uddhava and Vidura, and not to forget the meaning of the word Putana. Finally, in the fifth piece of our puzzle, wrapping up this class, what does Putana represent in Chaitanya Shikshamrita of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Putana represents two things. She represents duplicity. You have a face within and a face without. Just like we say, most of us lead a life with three faces. We have a public face that we show everyone. Everyone knows that face. Then we have a private face, which only our family knows. There was one prabhu who gave a fantastic class. And I was telling that prabhu, oh, you give such amazing classes, prabhu. And the whole audience was erupting, prabhu, your class is so good. And his wife came out. I said, Mataji, he gives amazing classes. She said, yeah, he gives even better classes in private. He gives amazing classes in public, but it's when it's just me and I got to hear, he gives amazing classes that I have to hear day in and day out. You don't know that face in him, she said. So this is the interesting thing, that familiarity always breeds contempt. So that's another point. But we have a public face that we show everyone. Then we have a private face that only our family knows. Then we have a secret face that only Krishna as Paramatma knows. That we hide even from our spouse and children. The thoughts, the intentions. So the time when all these three faces combine into one, that's when we achieve Krishna. But it's so fascinating for us as devotees and hope-giving that we have a role model up there. That in the form of Putana. In the sense that she was duplicitous, but she approached Krishna. She went to Vrindavan. She dressed herself as a devotee. And she sincerely endeavored to reach Krishna with determination, even if the intention was wrong. So we can have hope and be rest assured that with all our shortcomings, Krishna will certainly accept us. Someone who comes to kill Krishna, if Krishna is ready to accept that personality, what to speak of us who are genuinely trying to serve Krishna? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says Putana represents falsity or hypocrisy, one. She also represents pseudo-guru. That guru who externally is trying to play with the baby or the disciple, but internally is trying to murder the disciple in the form of playing on his faith, taking his money away, taking his time away, accepting his service with duplicity in the mind. So many fake gurus, so to speak. So in the Puranas it is said, Bahavaha Guravo Santi Shishya Vitta Paharaka Sadguru Durlabham Devi Shishya Santa Paharaka. Lord Shiva tells Mother Parvati that there are so many gurus in Kali Yuga, and most of them just want the money from their disciples. But the true guru is not there to take the money out of the disciple. He's there to take the distress out of the life of the disciple in true compassion, in true kindness, in true mercy. So that duplicity that Putana shows is also representing the falsity, the duplicity, the deceit nature of fake gurus. Last but not the least, Putana also has a history. It is described in the Shastra like the Garga Samhita and the Brahma Vaivarta Purana that the daughter of Bali Maharaj in the form of Ratnamala reincarnated as Putana. Bali Maharaj and Vamandev pastime. It's so beautiful that when Vamandev appeared, Bali Maharaj's daughter Ratnamala looked at Vamandev and she had motherly maternal affection. She felt like feeding milk from her breast to this child. But when she got to know that this was deceitful, this child was not just a child, he was the Supreme Lord who finished her father and took everything away from him. She thought, I feel like murdering this person. And Vamandev accepted both these wounds from Ratnamala and said, don't worry, I'll fulfill both of them. So she reincarnated as Putana, where she got a chance to serve Krishna through her breast milk and at the same time an attempt to murder him. So the lesson for us is we got to be very, very careful when we ask Krishna anything. Because we may see and we may ask according to the temporary situation of our life. But if that materializes in reality in another birth, we will have to pay the price. So if we want the honey of the present situation, we better get ready for the bee stings of the future. Rest assured, Krishna will give it. It is described in the end of this pastime of Putana, Cantos 10, chapter 6, text 44. Ya etat Putana moksham Krishnasya bhukam adbhutam shunuyat Shraddhaya martyo govinda labate ratim. That anyone who hears this pastime of Putana, verse by verse, translation by translation, purport by purport properly, and hears it in great detail with commentaries and elaborations from pure Vaishnavas, what happens? The Putana-like mentality of deceit and hypocrisy in the heart of the devotee will be destroyed. Krishna Katha in the form of an infant will enter the ear and destroy the Putana who has entered the Vrindavan of our heart. And when Putana is destroyed, that heart will totally be taken by Krishna. So two things will happen by speaking and hearing about Putana. That mentality, that proclivity will be destroyed and the heart will be whole and soul taken away by Krishna. Krishna doesn't like when we give our heart to anyone in this world. Why? Because Krishna brooks no competitors. Putana Devi ki Jai. Appreciating the positive value of Putana in our life ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Lord Premanande.
Amarendra prabhu ki jai. May I? Oh, okay.
Please.
So when she appeared as Tadaka and Lord Ramachandra killed her, why did she not go back to Godhead and she came back again as a demon?
Yeah, so Tataka and Putana were two different individuals. The point I was making in that meditation is that Ramchandra thought after killing Tataka that never again I'm going to kill demons when they appear as a lady, as a mother. But again, now another demon or demoness had appeared. So they're two different personalities. But I can actually take this question to another dimension of discussion by answering another point. The question that could come with this is, are the pastimes of Krishna killing demons eternal? We say all of Krishna's pastimes are eternal. Krishna's Damodar Leela is eternal, Krishna's stealing of butter is eternal, and all Govardhan Leela is eternal. But are Krishna's pastimes of killing the demons eternal? The answer is, these demons don't exist in Goloka Vrindavan. There are no demons in Goloka Vrindavan. There are just rumors of those demons. Mother Yashoda would sometimes say, Mother Yashoda had created fictitious demons called How and Pilau. They are just fictitious, they don't exist, they're ghosts. When Krishna wouldn't come on time for prasadam, Mother Yashoda would say, look how and Bilal are coming, they're going to put you in a gunny sack and take you into the forest. Krishna would come running to Mother Yashoda. He would be so scared to little bit. So therefore the Acharyas say, in the Gita, Krishna's made a proclamation, Sarvato Pani Padam Stat Sarvato Kshi Shiromukham, that my face faces in all directions. But by the power of Mother Yashoda's fear-inducing potency, Krishna can face all directions except behind because he's afraid. So his own words in the Gita are broken. So in the spiritual world there are no rumors, there are no demons, they're just rumors to create some anxiety. But those rumors take incarnations as reality when Krishna comes here. Now, on another note, there could be an understanding that eternity not just means spiritual world, it also means different material planets. Like you could have a Vrindavan 1, Vrindavan 2, Vrindavan 3 and Vrindavan 4, which could mean after Putna's pastime here it could happen here, it could happen here and it could happen there. Is it possible? Well, yes, it is possible, but it is not this Putana who appears here again. Because if it is the same Putana who appears here, then there could be a fault in Krishna's character, that even after destroying a demon, how does the impurity enter?
Yeah.
So this personality goes back, but another personality for the sake of pastime takes a role. Also, Krishna's name of Putana Ghatana or Putanari as the demon of Putana is an eternal phenomenon. The name is eternal. Why? Because Putana means impurity and destroyer of impurity is eternity. Krishna anyway destroys impurity all the time. Whether the demon is named Putana or Aghasur, it is the impurity in the demon which is destroyed. So in that way, even if it's in different universes, and even if the same pastime is carried forward, there are different jivas altogether. But the name remains eternal. But Krishna is destroying Putana in the sense the person, and at the same time impurity. So that I just tried to join the link to that point and make that point. That's great.
Can you talk about, we could listen to you for hours and hours,
Yes.
but however long you want to take. Can you talk about why Krishna kills most of the demons, but Balaram kills certain demons?
Yes, very beautiful point. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he makes this point that Baladev represents Guru Tattva and Sri Krishna represents Krishna Tattva or Bhagavat Tattva, being God, and Balaram represents being Guru. So the demons that Balaram kills, like for example Pralambasura, Dhenukasura, Vivida, Gorilla and so forth, represent vices in the heart like lust, like duplicity and so forth, what the specific demons represent. Oh, to be very precise and fundamental, Pralamba represents lust, Dhenukasura represents avidya, ignorance. So Krishna doesn't destroy avidya directly. Whenever a living entity in ignorance, has to be uplifted, Krishna does it through Guru. So even in the pastime of Dhenukasura comes charging towards Krishna, and Krishna directs Balaram. He's your chef. Go ahead. It's your time to stretch your muscles. Go. So in the point that it's Krishna killing Dhenukasura, it's the Supreme Lord destroying ignorance, but he does it through the representation of Guru Tattva. Similarly, when lust has to be destroyed and converted into love, it is only by following the instructions and serving Sri Guru that will happen. So Krishna sends Guru to someone who's inflicted and haunted by lust. So the vices that, the demons that Krishna is killing represent vices that Krishna personally comes, intervenes and destroys. But these are so fundamental, like avidya, to start the process. Ignorance must be destroyed by the representation of Guru Tattva. Therefore Balaram takes precedence and destroys those demons to symbolically teach us this one.
Who represents lust?
So lust is represented by Pralambasura, and Dhenukasura as a donkey represents ignorance, darkness.
Just have one small.
Yes, this will be the last because I really got to go and have some academic deadline too. Yes.
So at the beginning you mentioned that Sukadeva Goswami, he doesn't want to come out of the world.
Can you speak up so that the microphone will pick up?
Yeah, you said that Sukadeva Goswami doesn't want to come out of the womb. He forced to stay in his mother's womb for 12 years. And then he wants some sort of confirmation that he will not be entangled. So he asks Vyasadeva to call Krishna and give him that assurance. So he had Krishna right there. He saw
Who?
Krishna. He saw Krishna right there, right?
Shukadeva was in the womb, Krishna was outside.
Yeah, but he saw. I mean, he saw, but he heard Krishna giving him assurance.
Correct.
So he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Correct.
So then why he wanted to go to the forest and meditate on the
Yes, so
trees?
because, yes, very beautiful point. Because the impersonalists believe that God is originally formless. And then when time comes, that formless takes a form which is very temporary. And when he's done with his pastimes, he merges into back to the impersonal. So the actual reality is that this is just a temporary form. The impersonal, which is present everywhere, at the required time, takes a form like Ram or Sri Krishna, and when the pastime is done, merges back to thin air, which means after merging, there is no reality to that personality of Ram or Krishna. He doesn't exist in that form anymore. It is Brahman. So that is eternal life. This is just a temporary manifestation of that eternity.
So at least he believes that that is Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Of course, yeah. But the point is, whether the personality is the origin and impersonal light comes out of the personality, or whether it's impersonal light which is the origin and personality comes out. If someone just heard me say this, and they just joined in, and they just heard me say this, like this, Amarendra is crazy.
Somebody will.
What is he saying? Wait a minute, he just said Krishna is temporary and the Brahman. So just a quick clarification. So for those who just joined us, this is just a quick clarification that this was in relation to a question as to what made Shukadeva Goswami think impersonalism over personalism. I am very much a follower in the line of Gaudiya, and I'm not deviating. And I personally, honestly believe in the fact that Krishna's form is eternal and that Brahma Jyoti is actually just a portion out of it. So please don't take it out of context.
I'm sorry I asked that question.
Because if you take it out of context, I'll have to merge it into impersonalism.